welcome to this episode of Food from Fiction. We have a library patron that comes in and checks out bread and jam for Frances almost every single time she comes into the library. So I thought we would make some jam in honor of her and her love of this book. So we're going to make a quick strawberry jam. It's just going to be refrigerator jam. It's not something that you have to can and is a huge ordeal. Yeah, so super easy. 3 ingredients. I have chopped up a pound of strawberries and they are good to go. Strawberry jam is like the strawberries, the way they break down in the jam is a little different than in other fruits, in that they like to hold their shape. So I like to chop them in smaller pieces so they have an easier time breaking down, because I don't want like whole strawberries in my jam. Right, after strawberries we put in sugar, and if you've never made jam before and you look at jam recipes, you might be horrified by how much sugar goes into jam. And I would argue for you to consider that it's the sugar is not just as a sweetener and to like make you have a sugar high, but rather it helps break down the fruit, and it makes a caramel, which is almost what the jam is, if you maybe science it out. But anyways, so now we're just going to bring this to a boil and just kind of moving stuff around, and once it comes to a boil, and yes, it seems like 2 non-liquid ingredients should not boil, but they will, I promise. Once we get to that stage, then we will be adding lemon juice, but it's going to take a while to boil, so I will turn off the camera and tune back in when it is boiling. We are boiling, so now we're going to add our 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we're going to let this cook for like 15 minutes or so. Because this is a refrigerator jam, we're not going to add pectin, which helps it set and stay fresh and edible for long periods of time. Just so you know, that's the other more fancy kind of jam making. But in 15 minutes, we're going to need to know if this jam is right consistency or not. So you can either get a candy thermometer out, or you can put a plate in the freezer. I'm going to do both, so you can see both methods of determining if jam is set. Also, you should probably keep mixing this periodically for the next 15 minutes, because you don't want anything to get stuck to the bottom and burning. Other than that, we'll be back in 15 minutes. The hardest thing about making jam is just waiting for it to actually get to the right temperature, because as soon as it liquefies, you're just like, jam! But you actually have to be patient and wait and wait and wait. So, as I promised, there are 2 different ways that most people tell if their jam is ready. One is with a thermometer, and obviously we know how that works. According to my thermometer, we're right there. The other way is that you put a small plate into the freezer, and you take your spoon and you just put some jam on there, and then once it's not quite molten anymore, you run your finger across it, and if it kind of gets wrinkly, which obviously you can't see the wrinkles, but they're there, then that means your jam is done. And it's nice if you do it this way, because then you can taste your jam without risking burning everything you own, since it is molten sugar. Okay. So, next stage is putting the jam in a jar, which is surprisingly, I think, the hardest part. We've seen the messes I've made in the past, so I can't really talk during this or I'm going to pour jam everywhere. All right. So this is incredibly hot, so we're going to let it cool on the counter for a while before putting it in the fridge, because well, you don't put really hot things in the fridge, otherwise you raise the temperature, and that's not good for your other food. But this is how you make a jam, a basic refrigerator jam. I promise it tastes amazing. You can put it on some bread like Francis does. Maybe I might use it in a Victoria sponge. I don't know, something fun. But quick and easy strawberry jam. So I hope you all try making jam. It's a great time killer, which many of us still need. And bread and jam for Francis. If you are the patron that loves this book, this episode is for you. And we will see you guys next time.